This morning, I want to talk to you guys about how to say no in your career in order to advance, right? Now, I know, right, this advice that I'm going to share with you, it will probably go against a lot of the advice that you've either been taught or heard. And let me say this, y'all. I have been gone for a few weeks. Towards the end of the year is when I start to get a lot more clients because, it's like this thing of like, oh, it's almost a new year. I haven't really hit my goals. So I really have been head down in work. Okay. So, but I have been here. And so, guys, I am back. Okay. This is going to change the way that you are thinking about advancing your career, because you having to do all the things and having to be all is not going to get you where you want to be. Now, will you see some growth? You may see some growth. You may see some advancement, but for one, it's not just about you being able to grow, but what it is about is you being able to grow in the right way. And it is about that when you are starting to see growth, is that growth leading you in the way that you really want to go? Because I notice a lot of times, even with the clients that I work with, they see some success, right? They see some results that are being brought forth. They may even see growth, right? But it does not bring them more towards the life that they really want to live. And I think that is what makes me is that when I coach my clients, or even the advice that I share with you guys, is not about just being successful, but what it is about, right, is you being able to be successful on your terms, and that success being able to align with the life that you want to live, right? Because I know a lot of times we could just tend to get into the mindset of, okay, like I have goals, I have success, but are those goals and is that success being able to align you with the life that you say that you want to live? Because if it does not, it won't feel like success, right? Even though you'll hear your family and friends saying, oh, things are so good with you, you won't feel that, right? You'd be like, I know I should be more happy. I know I should be more fulfilled, but this is still not what I think it should be. And a lot of times there is a misalignment there, right, of goals, right? And a lot of times it's because you're not really sure, right, on what that success needs to be for you right now. Because another thing I notice is that you may have had in one time, right, an idea of what success was. But how many of you know that doesn't always stay the same, right? That idea of success for you can shift, and it will shift. But the key about it is you being able to realize is that, okay, when things in my life starts to shift, am I even in the place to where I even see it, right? And this is a lot of times where you may find yourself feeling like, okay, I'm doing all the things, but I'm still not really being able to get to the point that I feel like I should be at, right? So I want to go ahead and dive into how to be able to say no and show you the power in being able to say no and how that's actually going to advance your career, okay? So the first thing I think we really need to talk about is being able to like redefine productivity, okay? We are definitely in a society, right, that we like being busy, right? We feel like if my hands are always on something, if I have something always in the works, if I can say at the end of the day, oh, this was a long day, this was a hard day, we feel like we got some stuff done, right? But I think it's really important to like really redefine like what that is for us, because a lot of people are very busy. A lot of people are busy, but very few people are actually getting stuff done, right? Very few people are actually in a place to where they are able to get things done, right? And so what I want you guys to do is kind of shift that mindset and start to understand and know that just because you have a whole lot of stuff happening around you, right? Or even a whole lot of stuff happening in your job, it does not mean that you are moving towards those goals. It does not mean that you are in a place to where you start to really make some groundway, right? So when you think about, you being able to move away from just having stuff to do and really move towards, okay, are you really starting to inch more towards the career that you want? Is for one, is to allow yourself to really focus on, right? And I will say this, you guys will hear me talk a lot about on this live stream goals, right? I really want you to allow yourself to focus on what is the goal right now. In my group earlier last week, I was explaining to them the certain phases that you have, right? You can find yourself in your career where you are at a point where you are just exploring right now, right? You want to be able to gain some skills, you really want to be able to see what's out there. But you also can come to a point in your career to where you are really in a place to master something, meaning that you find yourself with some great successes, some great wins under your belt. But now you're at a place where you really want to lean into something and be known for something and really master something, right? But then also you can have times in your career where you could be starting to face a plateau, meaning you're not really, like, you don't feel like you have gone back any, but you really feel like, I haven't really moved up as well either, right? And so I think it's important for you to really first be able to identify what is the season of career that you are in right now. Like, what is that phase, right? Because if you don't know where you are, then it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to move away from that. And then once you do that, I want you to think about, right, what is the next season for my career? Because that is going to allow you to know, right, what are the cue signs, right? Or what are those cues or signs that you need to look for? And also, it'll help you to know what is the pace. So for instance, if you're like, Alicia, for me, the next phase of my career is that I really want to lean into more money. Okay. So for you, that next phase is about speed. If you're like, Alicia, I feel like I've had my hands in all kinds of things. I'm really not sure what's for me. The next thing for you is it's time to get clear. Clarity is that next phase for you. And in order to get that, you need to slow down. Okay? Right? And you need to start thinking with strategy. But people think that they always have to be in this mindset of a rush, right? But it's like, where are you moving towards, right? And if you're not sure where you are, why are you in such a rush to speed into that next thing when you don't even know what the next thing is for you? And when you do that, what happens is you end up having to face the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. Right? So one, being able to slow down, be able to know where you are. Because if you do not know where you are, you do not know what rewards to look for at that time either. Right? Because if you know that you have leaned more into that actual mastery phase, you have started to advance in your skill set, you have started to really think more about, okay, what is that next level of advancement for me, right? If you have already know that, then you know, okay, if I have been putting in the work to grow, right, then I should be looking for some kind of reward for the effort that I have done so far, right? But if you don't understand that, then you don't know what to expect in the season of career that you are in. So I want you guys to think more along the lines of being able to lean in and focus, right? And also prioritize, right? Thinking about what needs to come first right now. It's not about you having to check and see what is going to feel the best for you right now, but it needs to be about what is going to be the best thing for you right now. It's super important, right? Because you don't always want to chase a thrill all the time. You have people that will just set goals and they get a high off of them being able to just set goals, right? But no, right? What is it that I really need in this season, right? A lot of you need growth, right? Again, you have successes, you have wins, right? You have some results, but your career is only going to grow as much as you grow. Your career is only going to grow at the pace that you grow, right? Your pay is only going to increase, right, as you increase your skills. Now, when I say increase your skills, I'm not talking about you always trying to look for new skills. I'm talking about you being able to be aware of the skill set that you have now, you being able to even heighten those skills, right? Again, being able to move more into mastery, right? And you being able to put yourself in a place to where you need to make sure that those skills and those results are being seen by the right people. So I think it's important, again, to know what season that you are in and also know what should you be expecting in this season. And like I said, for a lot of you guys need to be thinking about growth, right? Not what is the next opportunity, but what is the next opportunity of growth for me? Because it's just not about being able to get these big job titles and all that stuff, right? But it's about you being able to make sure that you are in a place that you can sustain the level of success that you say that you want. And I've seen a lot of people where their career starts to move faster than their growth, and that's when you hit that glass ceiling, right? That's where you start feeling like I don't understand why I can't get the opportunities that I feel like I should have. And that's because, okay, are you able to keep up with the pace that your career is growing, right? And so, right. And with that, it happens often where it's that glass ceiling. It's something that you can't see. It's that blind spot. Right. But I want you to move away from, I don't need to just think about what are ways to be busy, but what are things that I can do? What are the strategic actions that I can take that will move me more towards the goals that I have? Right. And, my tip 2, again, is being able to be clear about your decisions. Being clear about where is your career going. And if you don't know where your career or what the next level of your career looks like, right? That's okay. Again, it's good that you are clear on that. But what's not good is when you start trying to make all these moves and you're not clear. Because what happens, again, is not just about you being able to make moves so you can feel like, or make the people around you feel like things are good, but it's about you being able to feel good about the moves that you make. And you feel good about the moves that you make when you are clear about the goal and you are intentional about the moves that you make. But what happens is that people will make moves in their careers. They are not clear. And now they have themselves in a place and they're like, how in the world, did I even find myself here? You find yourself in jobs and roles that do not cater to your strengths, and you wonder why you always fight with imposter syndrome. It's because you are not even aware of the strengths that you have. And so you land in roles that don't allow you to operate in your strengths. Therefore, you cannot bring forth the result that you know that you can. Then that pay gets stuck. And then you wonder why you can't advance. Right? There's nothing wrong with you. You're just not operating at the capacity that you can, and your strengths are not being used. Right? So we see how like all of these things link, right? And you see why it's important to not just hop out there and just do stuff, but you owe it to yourself. You owe it it's like you owe the life that you say that you want, the time that it takes. It doesn't have to take a whole lot of time, right? But when you think about how much time do I put into me thinking about what it is that I really want? How much time do I put into thinking about the strategy for my career, the strategy for my growth, thinking about what this plan needs to actually look like? Because, right, this is really important because I don't want you guys having to waste a lot of time. The first 2 points that I talked about was you being able to redefine busyness, right? Also, and then point 2 was you being able to be clear about the moves that you make, okay? And even with that, whenever I say it's important for you to be clear on the moves that you make, I want you to know that when you don't have goals or when you don't have clear goals, you give the people around you the power to set those goals for you. I'm going to say it again. When you don't have clear goals that you have set for yourself, you give the people around you the power to set those goals for you, right? And when you allow other people and their opinions and their feedback to set the goals for you, right, you'll always lack confidence. You'll always play victim, right? And you will end up having to build something that was never meant for you. And that is what caps your just potential, right? And you end up having to build something that you don't like and that was never meant from you, right? So now I want to move into being able to understand the power of no. And I want you to get rid of every belief you've ever been taught, everything you've ever thought that you knew about the word no. And I want you to understand this one thing first. Just because you say no to something does not mean that you are not capable of doing it. Okay? Just because you have said no to something does not mean that you were not capable of doing it. Because we can oftentimes be afraid to say no because we feel like if I say no, then that means I just had to admit to myself that this was something I could not do. And that is not true. Okay? You being able to say no it doesn't have anything to do with your skills. Okay? But, you have to know that when you say no to something, it's not about you, what's the word? Rejecting something, right? But saying no is about you making a strategic choice to protect your priorities, right? When you say no, you have made not just a choice, because we make choices all day and they are not strategic, right? But it is a strategic choice to protect your priorities, right? This is why when you have to say no to things that don't serve you in this season, because it'll be times when it's like you have to say no, right now, meaning I won't always have to hold this no forever, but for this season I do. Right. And so, but again, there are some things that you will have to say no forever to, right? But, I want you to know that you being able to understand the power of no and being able to understand that when you say no to something, right, you are also saying yes to something. Because no and yes do coexist. And we feel like whenever we at work or we're with your friends or your family or whoever, we feel like no is that's just it. But every time you say no to something, you say yes to something else. And you have to be able to understand that they do coexist. So when you're saying no to things that you know that will not serve you or the goals that you have, you are saying yes. That yes is for those goals that you have set. right? You are saying yes to, like, just to the life that you want, right? But on the opposite end, right? When you say no, meaning no, I don't want to, I don't want to put the work into the growth that I need in order to obtain the goals. That means that you are saying yes to self-doubt, right? So I want you to understand that they do coexist, right? And again, we're talking about being able to advance your career with saying no more often, but doing it in a strategic way, even when you find yourself at work, right? Because I know a lot of times, you can find yourself at work, it's stuff that you don't want to do. Right now, I'm not just talking about folks who just don't halfway want to work. Right? I'm talking about when you have to do things that you understand, right? That meaning you know that you have not set the boundaries that you need to set at work, right? And so what happens with that is you find yourself saying no to all of these extra tasks, all of this extra work. And what's happening is that you found yourself being overloaded at work. And now it's not that these tasks or these extra assignments is going to allow you, like to either gain the exposure or the skills that you need to advance into what's next for you. You just find yourself having to say no because you feel like if I don't say yes, then I won't look like I'm a team player. Right? But all you have done, for one, was just push back your goals and your success further away. Right? And also what you have done is that you have set the tone for them that their success comes before yours. Right? And so when you're thinking about being able to set boundaries, I want you guys to think a lot more about, right? What are those strategic ways, right? And there's no way that I can give you guys, an exact plan because again, everybody else's goal, like everybody's goal is not the same and everybody is in their own place right now. Oh, if you've been wanting to work with me one-to-one, I'm going to say it, I have a special offer. Okay. Again, kind of like we were saying, what I was saying before is that when you learn how to say no, right? It does create room for you to say yes to the things that you are really aligned with, right? And if you have this weird relationship with the word no, meaning you feel like if I say no, I'm not going to feel as valuable as I know that I am, then that is some work that you need to start to work through and realize that what you do for other people, right? And how often you say yes does not equate towards your self-worth or even the value that you hold. And so you're really going to have to be able to break that belief, right? And again, this is something that you have to do often, right? Especially if this has not come, especially if this concept that I'm sharing with you is new, if you have a bad relationship with saying no, you're going to have to work these muscles. It's so important to work through these, right? And guess what? The more you do it, the more often you say it, the easier it is, right? And you are able to say no in a way that also is not harsh either. But also know this, that at certain times, no is a complete sentence. Okay? Understand that too. You don't feel trapped of having to keep on over explaining yourself, because even in those times when you find yourself over explaining yourself, you can literally talk yourself out of the standard that you just placed as well. Okay, so also I want to go into 5. You guys see me looking down, I have notes. You guys know that whenever I show up here, right, I show up with something. Okay, so far we have talked about you being able to redefine busyness. We talked about you having to be clear, right? And I just got done with you having with explaining the power of no, right? And now I want to move into my next point, which is you being able to set boundaries, which I just got done explaining to you guys, but I want to go a little bit more into that and what a boundary really is, because I see a lot of people that don't really know what it is and it's being misused. So when you're talking about you being able to set a boundary, it is not about you having to force what you want on anybody. And when you set a boundary, it is not a threat, right? And it is not even for them, it's for you. Like, just think about it. When you set that, right, use that as your alarm system, right, to give you a sign that something is not right or something is headed in the wrong direction, right? And it's important for you to be able to set boundaries for your career growth, right? Because with them, you are able to have yourself set up for like long-term growth. Because again, there are some people that will experience little like spurts of growth here and there. And when you're not clear and when you're not strategic, you do not understand how did that even happen? Where did that opportunity even come from, right? And so a lot of your wins in your career can start feeling very random because you're not clear, you don't have any strategy. But when you start setting boundaries in your career, that's going to set you up for like long-term success. And when you start to experience success, you'll know exactly why, what, and how, and when, because you have put those things in place, right? You have to realize that when you take on too much, that dilutes your, I want to say results, but I want to say more along the lines of ability. I'll say that. When you take on too much, it dilutes you, right? And it robs you of the opportunity to thrive, right? So you'll see yourself being able to engage in the work. You'll see yourself, you may even bring forth some results, right? You see yourself being able to show up, but it will dilute what you do, right? So your work, your environments, your family, your friends, they do get you, right? But it's not all of you. And even at work, you may experience some success, but it's not even at the point that it should be, right? And then you move into that, you start to survive in your career and not thrive, right? That's why it's important to make sure that you put these things in place. And also, you'll be surprised if you're one that puts the right things in the right place. Because I know whenever I like talk about this, it's like everybody's afraid of, I don't want them to think that I don't, what's the word? Love my job. I don't want them to think that I always got something to say, but you'll be surprised that when you set boundaries, it will cause them to respect you more, right? Because we think the opposite. We think the more I say yes, that means everybody's going to see how I'm so great. But it does the opposite, right? Because now how they see you is not even really you. All they see is what they can get out of you, because you're so used to just putting on more and more and more and more and more. And so they don't even really see you, those goals, those expectations, those standards. They don't see that because all you have done is made yourself just a workhorse. But you'd be surprised that when you set boundaries at work, that will cause them to respect you more, right? Because they understand that you are there for their success, but you are also there for yours. Because when you're at work, you set the tone of what that relationship will be, right? And when they can respect you, right, they will pay you, right? They will allow you to get the opportunities that you want. But that comes from you being able to be sure of who you are, not allowing yourself to be overworked for that to validate your expertise, but you have already made sure of yourself. And so now it's not about you having to prove anything, but now it's about, I am here to um, to bring forth the results that you hired me for, right? But I'm also here to make sure that this partnership, because that's what it is, it works for both sides. So you'd be surprised when you start putting boundaries in place, how that will enhance your brand, and that will also cause them to have a level of respect for you. It is a thing, because don't be so focused on if people, what's the word, like you. Now, what I'm not saying is to, at work is to have a bad attitude. What I am saying is that it's not about being everybody's best friend. But what it is about is making sure that the people that you work with respect you, right? And when you respect yourself by being able to set those boundaries in place, everybody else will. And when you notice that when you have put these boundaries in place and you are in environments that cannot uphold them, that should let you know that I am not in a space that's aligned with my values, because that is what boundaries should be based upon, is your values. Like, what is it that I need in place in order to bring forth the great work that you want and that I want as well? And when you are in spaces that do not allow you to uphold them, that lets you know that you are not in a aligned space. And this is not time to get upset and get mad and throw a fit, but this is time to look for a space that is going to align with your values and will uphold those boundaries. And this is why I said, when you even this topic is not about you having to force your way in no space, right? But this is your alarm system. Then when these lines are crossed, it's time to have a conversation about them, right? And it is time to understand, right? Is it time to grow or is it time to go? Because I do want to say this, you don't want your boundaries. My coach says this, you don't want those things that you call boundaries, you don't want them to turn into your blocks, right? I have a coach, she just says it all the time. Sometimes we feel like, oh, this is just no, you are blocking yourself from what you say that you want. This is why I said boundaries are set upon your values, right? What is it that you need in order to feel good and thrive? It is not set upon those growth areas. Don't do that. Don't you do that to yourself. Don't. Okay. And so I said, like, when that alarm system goes off, it's like, okay, is it time to go or is it time to grow? Right. And that takes a level of self-awareness for you to know which sign is that. All right. So I want to go into, one, being able to like move away, which I kind of already went into a little bit, was about being able to like move away from the guilt and the fear of that. Right. And, I always say this, like, how confidently you can say no to something is how sure you are of the goals that you have, right? I'm gonna say it again, like how sure you are in your nose is a direct sign of how sure you are of your goals, right? So if you're one that you like, I don't really know, that lets me know that you are not sure of the goals that you have. Or if when it's time to say no to something, you automatically think about what will they think, that lets me know that you have not yet just validated yourself. Because when you feel like, in order to feel sure about something that you need, that you feel like the other side needs to agree with you, that lets me know that you get that validation from them and not from you, right? So I hope you guys are seeing that 70% of your career growth is based on your growth. It's based upon how much are you willing to gain the skills that you need, right? How willing are you to look at those growth spots and those blind spots. That's what's keeping you away from the money that you want. Now, there may be some, hard skills in there, right? So I'm not saying that there is no, tactical side of this. Absolutely. But like I said, about 70% of your career issues or concerns or blocks comes from the way that you think, right? And this is why we have to transform the way that we think, because that is going to determine the actions that you take, right? And so when you think about you being able to get to that next level, don't think about your resume first. Right? Don't start thinking about this job that you got to go online and find. Don't think about that yet. Don't think about that yet. Right? Think about, have I put myself in a position with my growth that I can now step into this next phase, right? And so even when I talk about that fear or that guilt of being able to say no, right, that does take you having to retrain yourself to, for one, to understand that everybody won't agree with your no's, right? But it's also, sometimes you have to realize that when you say no to something, you actually are saying, let me say this, you actually are showing respect for that other side, right? DM me. Okay. And it really is a skill, because you being able to say no is going to increase your decision making 100%, not just in your life, but in your career, right? You being able to know what to say no to is going to help you with your strategic thinking. I had a client I was working with this week, and he said, yeah, I'm really at the point in my career where I'm really wanting to build up the skill of knowing how to think more strategically in the work that I do. So you're still able to build skills that can aid you in your career growth, right? And it's about you being able to open up yourself to like what happens on the other side of that no that you just said. Because sometimes you could be too focused on the no, but you don't see what just opened up for you because you have said no. Being able to take steps towards the goals that you really, really want, because that is what it is about. It's easy to sit and think and hope all day about what we want. But when you take action, that's what's actually going to move things for you. Right? So I want to do a quick recap. First step I talked about was being able to like redefine busyness. I talked about you being able to be clear in your career moves. I talked about you understanding the power of no, you being able to set boundaries for your growth. And I talked about how the more you say no, it'll cause people to respect you more. Let me know if you guys have any questions for me. If you guys want to find out your strengths and your gaps, okay, I do have a free quiz for you. It takes about 2 minutes. Go to IamAliciaPerkins.com/quiz, or you can go in the link on my page. And that quiz, it will show you, right, what are the gaps that you have, but it also shows you your strengths, and it also will allow you to have tips in order to fill those gaps. Again, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you should be running to my DMs right now. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.